Hey there, everybody. Apologies for my voice. I'm a little stuffed up here with our ever-changing Chicago weather. It's beautiful. We're bringing episode 2 of 2 Drink Minimum to you right away, and it's an addendum to our horror movie podcast. In this one, Sergio and I sat down and rewatched Friday the 13th, Part 4, the final chapter, and we're going to see if our arguments from the horror movie podcast, our first one, hold up. So enjoy, and my apologies for my lovely dog, Rogue, who is definitely in the background during this one. It was an impromptu podcast, so we just went with it. Enjoy, and I'll talk to you later. All right. Serge, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, here we go. So, you're probably going to hear my dog, Rogue, in the background a little bit. He's playing with the toy right now. But that's what we got to work with. He watched Friday the 13th with me and Sergio. Friday the 13th, the final chapter, Part 4. And I think to settle our debate once and for all, we're just going to go through it. Probably death by death would be the best way to get through the movie. And then we'll just give our final thoughts, see where we stand, see if either of us conceded to the other in some parts. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. So, let's get things rolling here with the final chapter, which, by the way, we should start off by saying definitely not the final chapter.
Right, yeah.
It turns out.
No, there was more that happened for sure.
Yeah, they planned on it being the final chapter, and in many ways, this movie is the conclusion of the first Jason story arc, I guess you can say. So in a way, it kind of goes. If these weren't off the rails, it definitely goes way off the rails after the first 4, for sure. So we get the intro, which is your typical campfire scene, right? We don't know who these kids are. We never see them again. They're just there to tell us, to recap the first 3 films for us, basically. And they're saying, Jason's still out there and whatnot. And we get some of the deaths from the first 3. We get to see Jason's mom again, Mrs. Voorhees, who we find out her name is Pamela. We find that out later on in this movie. I think it's the first time that we get her full name. I'm not sure about that, but I think it is, from what I remember. So anyway, we get the nice little recap, and then it jumps into, the movie starts at the end of the 3rd one. So we're at Crystal Lake, of course. And the end of the 3rd one, it ends with Jason getting an axe to the face. He definitely gets an axe to the face. And we got basically the ambulance and the police are there, and they take Jason's body away to the hospital, who is seemingly dead, right?
And just to correct you, I believe it was a morgue. It was the morgue that they took him to.
Okay, the morgue. Fair enough. Fair enough. You know what? You're right. That makes this movie great because it's a morgue and not a hospital. So we get that. And what's cool about the morgue, actually, during the rewatch, we noticed some things because it had been a while for me since I've seen this movie, and we saw a lot of similarities with another famous franchise during this first sequence there. We compared it to Halloween 2. And, Serge, maybe you can enlighten us a little bit. What were the similarities between this scene in the morgue and Halloween 2?
Well, the main one was pretty much the fact that in Halloween 2, Jamie Lee Curtis, she's in the hospital, and there's like a sex scene with a doctor and a nurse, and that was
It's like the same scene. It's the same scene.
It was literally the same scene.
And we're quite sure that Halloween 2 came out before this movie.
Yeah.
Before Part 4, Friday the 13th. So, is it a ripoff? We don't know. It's oddly similar, though. We have, the doctor and the nurse essentially are flirting with each other. They're about to get it on in the morgue, of course. They're our first 2 victims. Anyway, the guy in that relationship gets the surgical saw, right? Because Jason, he's not dead. And there's actually a really cool reveal that he's not dead. When he locks the body in the morgue, and right as he's closing the door, he doesn't see this, but the audience sees a breath. And he's still alive. He gets the first guy. The second victim is the nurse who gets stabbed, kind of like choked and stabbed, right, in the hospital, in the morgue. And Jason escapes. That kind of sets the stage for everything that comes after that. We get the introduction of our main scenery for this film, which is the Jarvis residence, which happens to be on or near Camp Crystal Lake, of course,
Right.
right? Where we should point out all these murders have happened pretty recently. If this is picking up right at the end of 3, then that means that Jason's just killed at least a dozen people.
Right.
And then if you go back to the second one and the first one, there have been several deaths with at least within a few weeks of each other at this location and the surrounding areas.
Right.
And yet, for some reason, we still have a group of people going to rent out the Jarvis's guest house, a group of teenagers in that area because I don't know why. They never explain why they're doing this. They're just on a trip to where people just recently got murdered.
Right.
Mass murderings happened, but they don't bring that up. They're just going to go there and have a good time. And they take a little short stop at the grave site, of course, for, again, I don't know why they stop here. I'm really I'm really leaning towards already early on that I'm not a fan. I'm not a huge fan of the movie.
That's the
I'm
whole
not a huge
basis
fan of
of
the movie.
watching
But
it again.
they stop there, and Pamela Voorhees, we see her gravestone, which is erected. I don't know why it just stands out in that shitty little cemetery, but it's the only good-looking gravestone. And I guess Jason made a lot of money because he really did a nice job for his mom there. Because I don't know if there's any other Voorhees family out there to erect that gravestone, that headstone there for her, but whatever.
But it had only been 5 years since the death of the mother.
Okay.
So
okay.
I'm assuming that was the main reason why it looks so new and clean.
So then does the... That's a good point. Does the second one then take place 5 years after the original? Is that what happens?
I don't know the time frame, but in regards to filming, the first one was 80. So 4 years. The first one was 80.
You're talking about... So the film's made enough money at this point where they could afford a nice Pamela Voorhees gravestone. I got you.
Yeah, it's
Very
respect.
Good. Very
it's
good.
respect. Like, every mom deserves a nice tombstone as far as I'm concerned.
Of course. Yeah. Every mom
Regardless of who your
every
son
mass
is.
murdering mom that gets beheaded deserves a nice... So there's so the timeline for the movies, though, is still a few weeks. Just to point that out, it veers off once we get into like 5 and 6. It goes years later, but these first 4 are back to back to back, essentially, in the timeline. So we get the gravesite thing. Then we meet an interesting character. We meet Rob. Rob, he says he claims to be a bear hunter. He's hunting bear. He's got like a rifle, which he never uses for some reason, even though he's got it, and a giant machete and a flannel shirt. So he's a bear hunter, and he's just hunting down. We find out what he's about later,
but you did jump ahead and you missed one important.
What I missed?
You missed the hippie.
The hippie hitchhiker.
The hippie hitchhiker.
Death number 3. That's right. The hippie hitchhiker.
They just like randomly
with the banana.
Yeah.
So
which to this day still cracks me up.
That poor girl. She didn't do anything wrong.
No, she did nothing wrong.
She's hitchhiking.
No, hold on. She used profanity. She used the F word on the sign.
On the sign,
and she gave them the finger.
And she gave the finger. That was it.
If there's the rules of,
Yeah, Jason saw that and he's like, this person isn't good.
She's no good.
Right, and she dies. She gets stabbed and she's squeezing she was eating a banana and she squeezes it really hard, and we get a close-up of her squeezing the banana, which I guess is kind of cool. It's a good death. R.I.P. hippie hitchhiker. Then we get Rob, the bear hunter. And then we go into the kids, the teenagers who are renting out that house on the Jarvis residence. They have a party that night after much needed skinny dipping, apparently, because it's a Friday the 13th movie without gratuitous nudity. Why would you make a movie? I guess so. We need that in there, and they're partying, and it's a weird party, and it's the infamous. I forgot it happened this early in the film, but it's the infamous Crispin Glover, who's in this film as one of the teenagers dancing. Pretty great. We talked about that in the Halloween podcast. So if you haven't yet seen that scene, you can literally just YouTube Crispin Glover dancing. Maybe you have to throw in Friday the 13th and you'll see a great moment.
And in the final chapter DVD special features, there is the Crispin Glover fuck dance.
Yeah, we don't know what that is yet.
Yeah.
It says fuck dance, and I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
We might have to watch the special features. That could be a podcast of its own. Who knows? I don't know. But so we got him dancing. It's epic. The party goes on. One of the girls leaves because her boyfriend's being a douche and is hitting on one of these. They meet this pair of twins who are, again, up there for whatever reason. He starts hitting on one of the twins in front of his girlfriend, in front of everybody in the party. And so the girlfriend feels shunned and leaves, right? She then decides that what a great night for a naked night swim. Because,
Pretty much.
I don't know why.
Pretty much.
But then she goes out, she goes in the raft, and that's our fourth victim. She goes for the swim, she gets on the raft, and Jason stabs through the raft, which later on is still floating, which we had some debate on. I guess that's how air rafts work. I don't know. You explain it to me? Why the raft is still afloat after he stabs through it?
But through the bottom, and the bottom doesn't have any air in it. It's just like a flat piece of plastic. It's the outer rim that's filled with air. So
Okay, I feel like we're reaching there, but
no, I think
we'll accept it. We'll accept it. I don't know anything about rafts.
I'm giving credit to the crew and
That's
the
fine.
writer, and they did their research to say, okay, yeah, this would work without the raft floating. That's my guess. That's my guess.
It's fine. The important thing is the face that she makes when she gets stabbed is hilarious.
Yeah.
Her tongue sticking out, her eyes are crossed. It's pretty great. It's pretty great.
It's like in the 80s, they like, that was the direction they gave at the time. It's like, all right, when you play dead, we need you to cross your eyes and stick your tongue out.
Yeah.
Because not to jump off of a different movie, the first Halloween, there's the kill of the friend in the car where Michael Myers is in the back seat and he's choking her. And she does the exact same thing. She crosses her eyes, sticks her tongue out, and then falls face forward onto the steering wheel. So it's like, is this the way like movie producers thought like people died?
Right,
like,
right.
like, you got to cross your eyes.
If you're
you got to
getting
stick your tongue
murdered,
out.
you're going to be cross-eyed.
And your tongue's gonna flip out. So yeah. I guess that's just the direction that they were giving back then.
Apparently.
Yeah.
Apparently. Shortly after that, we get the fifth victim, which is a dude, I guess, feels bad and goes out looking for his girlfriend. Sees her just floating there alone in the raft and decides he's going to go for a swim out to her. Sees that she's dead, tries to make it back to the dock, but gets, this is actually a pretty cool death. He gets spear gunned in the nuts.
Yeah.
Pretty great. He gets the initial stab, and then we see Jason definitely pull the trigger. So this guy gets impaled with a spear gun through the NUTs.
Yeah. And gets and which I found to be like one of the best deaths because it was
in this movie. I agree. Yeah,
because it was hilarious the fact that like Jason's just like just raises him up into the air with his like
by the balls,
monstrous
literally
strength,
by the balls,
and that's when he actually like shoots the harpoon or whatever that is.
Yeah.
As he's raising him up in the air. So like that was probably my favorite death out of all of these.
Yeah,
one of my favorite deaths.
And that being said, now that we're like midway through the deaths in this movie,
because that was what, number 5?
5. Yeah. There's quite a few more, but they get pretty creative in this movie. There's some good ones. Everyone, for the most part, dies differently. All the victims go down differently, which is pretty impressive, I think. I enjoy that. They got creative with this one. That brings us to the 6th death, which is one of the twins gets a straight up spear because she's tired of the party. She's not partnered up because it's a teen party and everybody partners up and they're going to get laid and whatnot. She doesn't. She leaves. We see her get speared into the wall of the house, which again, that's one of those things. I feel like nobody heard this. I don't know. Nobody heard the screams. Nobody heard her getting thrown into the wall with the spear.
They were inside partying and listening and watching the 1920s porn flick.
That's right. Yeah, the guy finds. Yeah, guys, look at this
8mm tape.
Yeah, he finds an old film and somehow an old projector that still works. Yeah. And they're watching and they're smoking weed and drinking Coors.
Yeah,
Coors Banquet. Right there, right? And they're drinking that, and they're watching these old 1920s porns, and the guy's like, we'll get to him in a bit, but he's watching it for like hours. It's something like that. He's watching it for a long time. We get a great line. We get a legit "I'll be right back."
Yeah.
Right. So Crispin Glover actually gets lucky in this one with the other twin. After which, so they just have sex, which is a no-no in a Friday the 13th movie, and then she actually says, "I'll be right back," which is that's a double whammy, right? She's going down hard. Speaking of Crispin, he he wants his post-coital glass of wine, apparently. So he goes downstairs, grabs a bottle of wine, and is yelling for, "Where's the corkscrew?" And then Jason, out of nowhere, stabs him through the hand with a corkscrew and quickly gets him in the face with the machete, it looks like, or a butcher knife of some sort. So
Which was
Crispin
good.
Glover goes down. He gets the corkscrew through the hand. Iconic death there. So
Yeah, which I have to admit, like every single one of these deaths, they did a good job of making them look realistic.
Great effects for 84. 1984 is when this movie came out. Great job with the practical effects, no doubt.
All in camera.
Yeah, all in camera stuff, camera tricks. It's really good. It is shot. I'll give it that for now. The effects are pretty good. Second twin goes down. This is where Jason becomes kind of a ninja, because I think we have like maybe a minute or so in film time pass from where Jason corkscrews Crispin, right? And then all of a sudden the other twin's like in this room upstairs, and Jason is somehow on the outside ledge of that upstairs room. She goes by the window, he grabs her, throws her out onto a car, which then pretty much explodes. The windows blow out and everything. She's gone. Yeah. And again, I say to you, no one hears this? No one hears this car? I mean, come on. That's going to make some kind of noise. I know that it's storming outside through the entire film.
It's storming. People are high. People are drunk. There's porn playing on the screen. It's a lot of distractions. People are getting laid.
Yeah, all right. I guess you wouldn't hear that.
If
you're getting laid, you don't hear that.
I wouldn't be focusing on
the blow out of the windows.
Yeah,
all right.
Like
Fair
a
enough.
blood force trauma.
Also, the body count's up now, so there's not that many people around to here at this point.
Exactly.
All right, I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you. The ninth victim is the guy watching the 1920s porn, and that is he's still watching it for some reason. He sees finally sees a girl that he actually likes, and he wants to get closer to the screen because he's being a creep. And then the projector goes blank, and he turns around and he gets stabbed through the screen in the back of the head, and then he tears down the screen. That's actually pretty cool too. Yeah. Right, death by projector screen. That's a pretty good one. And then we have the 10th and 11th are back to back. We have this one's interesting. We talked about this when the movie started. We should have mentioned this. So the Jarvis family, they have this. They have a daughter, Trish. Right. There's the mom. I don't know her name, but then there's the daughter, Trish, and then young Tommy Jarvis. And this is the introduction of Tommy Jarvis, who in this one is like 10 years old or something, and he's played by Corey Feldman.
Yep.
Who does a great job as the kid in this film. But Tommy Jarvis, if you look at 4, 5, and 6 of the Friday the 13th movies, that character reoccurs throughout, if you don't know that already. And he becomes kind of Jason's nemesis through that little mini 3-film arc. There are some that actually read up on this. Some call it the Tommy Jarvis trilogy, 4, 5, and 6. Who knows?
I've never read up on that.
Yeah,
That's pretty cool.
4 is still probably the best one. 5 and 6, I think, have their moments, maybe.
6 are awful.
Right. And that's not saying a lot in my mind for the sequels, but we'll get there. But this is the introduction of that iconic character in the franchise, which is kind of cool. I forgot about that he's introduced as a young boy. And he's into making different masks and doing his own makeup and stuff like that, which comes into play near the end. But his sister's kind of the virgin character, the final girl character. But there's also another one in that teen group who, up until this point, the movie makes you think that she also might be a final girl character. But she has sex with her boyfriend in the shower.
Yeah.
Puts on a skimpy little towel, like the smallest towel imaginable, and walks out in the hallway and leaves the boyfriend alone in the shower because he's still feeling the need to take a big steamy shower.
Yeah.
Which how is he not burning with that water? There's so much steam in that bathroom, covering the window and everything. But anyway, Jason comes in there, gets him. He basically smushes his head into the bathroom wall,
which is cool.
Yeah, and then pulls him through the door. That's cool. Yeah. Another death. That's number 10. She finds the body, right, and realizes maybe I shouldn't have had sex with this dude because now I'm going to die. And runs, is about to make it out the door. And this is actually pretty cool, that too. It's pretty quick. I thought there was going to be a big to-do. But no, an axe comes barreling through the door and right into her chest, and she just goes down.
Yep.
So that's 10 and 11 kind of back-to-back right there.
Well, and that is one thing that I really liked about this movie. It's like it's death after death after death. Like,
it does once it gets going.
You get the 3 in the beginning to just kind of like, it's almost like your warm up. You know, it's like, all right, this is going to be a fun filled adventure coming up in the next half hour or so. And the next thing you know, once they start, it's just like death.
Once you get to the campsite, that's it.
Yeah. It was. It's a fun, and to your point earlier, it's like they're all killed in different ways.
Yeah.
Like they didn't repeat anything, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely different weapons, different methods. Yeah, Jason goes all out.
He's creative in this one. He's definitely opening up his creative outlet and exploring different ways of killing people, which was nice.
Right. Yeah. So Trish Jarvis, the older sister of Tommy, is now hanging out with. They've since befriended Rob, the bear hunter, who then we find out now. At this point, we find out was looking for his sister, who had been killed by Jason in I think the second or third. It's one of the two, and he's hunting Jason down. And so now they're like, okay, Jason's here. He's showing them these old newspaper clippings. He's explaining who this guy is. They realize, oh no, he escaped from the morgue. He's here. He's killing these people. And Trish and Rob go out to hunt Jason while Tommy's left at the Jarvis house, right? Where he starts reading those clippings himself and taking a look at the pictures and whatnot. They find the bodies. They start finding the bodies. And then they do the most stupid thing which is in almost every horror movie where let's split up. So Rob, for whatever reason, goes downstairs and Trish goes upstairs, but not before Rob gives Trish the giant machete to defend herself with, I suppose. So Trish finds more bodies, gets freaked out, realizes Jason's there. She runs downstairs in the basement, which isn't that big of a basement. And Rob was down there for a while. I would think like he'd go down there and be like, okay, no one's here, and then come back up. But he was still down there, which is, again, whatever. That's fine. Runs down there. Of course, Jason then pops out of nowhere because he's a ninja in the basement. And this is my favorite death in the movie, but for all the wrong reasons. Because they really paint this picture of Rob being this badass. Right, he's backpacking. He's sleeping on his own in the woods with a tent.
He fixes the car.
He fixes the car with a knife, right? He's got a rifle. He's got a giant machete. He looks like a woodsman. This dude is a badass. And he doesn't even put up a fight with Jason. He just gets instantly thrown to the wall, and Jason starts stabbing him with tools while Rob's yelling, run. He's killing me. He's killing me. And it's pretty great. Like, why you yell he's killing me, I don't know. But it's a little ridiculous for my taste.
Which I never realized how ridiculous it was until you pointed it out to me. Like, I never even, I don't even think I noticed the fact that he's like,
I forgot that too.
It was just being stating the obvious.
Yeah. We had to rewind it because I'm like, wait a minute, listen to this.
He's using a tool to pierce my skin and cause me to bleed to death. It's like he could have just said that. Yeah.
He's stabbing me through the guts right now. It really hurts. Run away.
Run.
He's killing me. Yeah, it's just, I'm sorry. That one, I can't give a pass on that one. That's just bad.
So that was probably the one where they were just
He's a red herring then, they make him out to be this badass dude and he just goes down right away and yells that he's killing me. So
They might have shot that towards the end, and they were just like, all right.
They gave up, right?
Go ahead.
Right. Because he is...
Improv this scene. So, Rob, go for it.
Right. So he's the 12th. He's the last victims.
That we see.
Spoiler alert. Death that we see. And I guess leading up to the 13th victim, because there are 13 deaths in this one, But we just found out apparently there might be one more that we don't really see on screen. We're supposed to assume, but we never see a body.
Yeah.
So the Jarvis Mama Jarvis, we see her like midway through the film, and then we don't hear from her again.
And I do remember...
But we don't see her dying at all.
I do remember her going out to look for... I forgot what she was going to look for, but she was going...
a scream or seeing something.
No, I don't remember any of that stuff.
It might have been during a beer break, folks.
Yeah,
Who knows?
I did like just do a quick search, and they say like that she leaves the house and then screams, and that's the assumption of her death. But
we never see a body.
Yeah.
Okay.
We never see a body.
So maybe that's 13.
It's an implied
13
death.
Victims. If it's not, then Jason definitely is the 13th death in this film. Quotes, death in quotes, I guess. Because we have the final fight, then the final showdown. We get a lot of cool, badass final girl stuff, if you ask me, where Trish is actually hacking away at Jason with the machete. Corey Feldman does this weird makeup job on himself where he shaves his head without cutting it first, and we point out like he would totally like have butchered his scalp if he did this, because he just takes a straight razor to like his like long 80s hair and just
and pressing hard and fast. Like I would just think like, oh man, you'd have so many nicks, and, like there'd be like blood everywhere. Right,
and they briefly set up that this kid is into masks and stuff, but he concocts this entire makeup job in the span of a couple minutes, I guess. But that's okay. He comes down. He looks like a creepy. His goal is to look like younger Jason, and he does. It looks really, really creepy, and he calls out to Jason right before he's about to murder his sister. Jason turns around, gets distracted. Sister comes up with the machete, knocks Jason's mask off, and the machete goes flying. Jason then goes after Trish. Tommy picks up the machete. Jason turns around just as Tommy is able to swing the machete into Jason's face. Jason goes down, and he falls down on the ground, and the machete actually pushes up through his skull, and he's done for, except that his hand is twitching. Tommy sees this and picks up the machete and just starts hacking away at Jason, screaming, die, die, die. And Trish is going, stop, Tommy, stop. And Trish wakes up in the hospital. They survive. Jason's allegedly dead. Tommy comes to visit her in the hospital room. He gives her a hug, and the last shot is a close-up on Tommy's face as he opens his eyes. And Corey Feldman does a great job again, because that look on his face is just creepy as hell.
Yep.
So, and that's where the movie ends, on that still frame of him opening his eyes. And it leads you to believe that I think what they were originally going for, because this is not where, the movies eventually went to. They kind of hinted at it, but it was kind of going for Jason really was dead.
Yeah.
And that now Tommy's going to be the new Jason, right? That kind of happens and kind of doesn't happen really in the future films from what I remember. But it is a creepy ending. I'll give them that. It's a creepy ending. You assume Jason's dead. At the time, their plan was this. They were calling it the final chapter for a reason. They weren't going to make any more. They wound up making several more after this. But that's the end. That's the final chapter in a nutshell. So, final thoughts. Let's get to the debate. We talked about a little bit of everything. We probably missed some things here and there. We kind of bullet pointed it. But, Serge, your argument during the Halloween podcast was, because I was saying I hated all of them. You said all the sequels, all the Friday the 13th sequels. Your argument was that this one, the final chapter, is actually a good one, a diamond in the rough, right? A gem in the sequels. Do you still hold to that after watching it?
Yes. Yes, okay. Absolutely. It's definitely 12 strong kills. Yeah. They were all the effects that they used, the in-camera effects, the gruesomeness of them. I mean, they were fun. They were awesome. Like, and I remember watching this as a little kid, so I was just like, oh my god! Like, I assumed like this stuff was real, and they just did a great job at all these like death after death after death. I also like Corey Feldman. For me, as a little kid, like when I saw this, I'm like, wow, this is like this kid is like just traumatized, and like now he's gonna start killing people too, because he is just so messed up by this entire story. Like, he is now possessed by the dead Jason Voorhees. So it was like, to me, I do think that this is a really, really good film for horror, for that entire genre. And I do think it's the best out of all the Friday the 13th, 100%. Okay. Are you implying that there's one better, or do you just think they all suck?
I don't know.
I'm not saying it's a brilliant film. I'm just saying this is really, really good for the horror genre.
I'll agree. I will say that honestly, this changes my answer for, I don't hate every sequel in the series, which basically means this is the one that is watchable. I think I enjoy this one. All right. It was as cheesy as it was, and as many plot points as there are that I can make fun of. This one's actually watchable. I like it. And Rogue, play with your toy, man. Yeah, that's we got a dog here, everybody. That's what we do. So he watched the movie too. He was actually more into it than we were at some points, right? There was a dog in the movie. He liked it. It's okay. I forget the dog's name, but apparently the dog, we never know if the dog survived or what. That's something we never brought up. The dog jumps out a window.
Maybe that's a 13.
Is that 13? That might be 13. The dog, oh no.
Yeah.
Oh, poor dog. Yeah, the dog jumps out the window. They don't show him landing or dying, but that's the last you see the dog. It's the last you see the dog. Yeah. Oh, well.
We should do like a sub.
Whatever happened to that dog, right? We'll check him
show
out.
like this dog roaming through the forest, going from town to town looking for its owners.
He comes back in like the 8th one or something that we're forgetting about. And we're like, oh, it's the dog. Yeah. You're supposed to remember.
But he has to have an eye patch. Just
of course.
To say like,
right.
Because like the glass from jumping through the window.
To show that time has passed and he's got like battle damage.
Yeah.
That's Jason's true nemesis, is that dog. So it's watchable. I still have my problems with it. It might be the best
of the series. Just say it. Come on, Bill. Just say it.
The best of the series that features Jason. Because I still like the story of that first one.
Fair enough.
I do. I like the whole Jason's mom thing. I think she's just really creepy. Jason is definitely iconic. But I think seeing, the mom and the fact that the whole thing was shot where you don't really see who the killer is, it was more of like a whodunit type deal than anything, I thought was really cool. But this one, as far as what Friday the 13th is now, yeah, probably the best. I could agree with that now. That being said, I don't know if it's a great movie. There's definitely problems with it. It's definitely fun to watch because of that, though.
Yeah.
And it's one of those where I don't want to say so bad it's good, but there's definitely things to make fun of, which there are in most horror movies. So upon a rewatch, I have to say you were right. I'll concede and say I was wrong on all the sequels are bad. This sequel actually is decent.
It holds up.
It holds up.
And you have to admit, even if you've never watched any of these movies and you threw this one in, that wonderful campfire recap of the whole story kind of just helps you like, oh, this is where we're picking up.
It's a gratuitous recap, but it's I guess needed. But that brings me to my point, though. Now the one thing I will still argue, which I brought up in the Halloween podcast, was the kids keep going back to Crystal Lake. Why? Okay, this fourth movie takes place in the same, span of days, weeks, whatever, since the first film. And Jason's body count at this point is in the 20s after the second and third movie, at least. And this is days after. And they're in the same area. They just cleaned up a mass murder scene of like a dozen kids from the third movie. And these kids still think, hey, let's go party and let's rent out this Jarvis house. And they're like, what? Come on. It's just, they never explain why they're up there. They're cannon fodder. They needed a group of teenagers to just put up there again. And
I mean, I'll give it to you. It doesn't make sense that they're there, but come on. Can you validate any premise for any horror movie? No. There's always some ridiculous, why go back? Why open up that door? Why go into the darkness? Why any of that stuff? It's it's
True.
Horror movies. It's you need the idiocy
but this one
of
just
the characters to just bring that story to
I get it, but this is days later. This is days after a mass murder. They're like, yeah, let's go check it out.
Think about it. All right, so, okay, you booked a vacation, and you're going to go, you spent all this money and time planning for it, and you find out something bad happened, not too far from there, you're going to cancel your vacation and lose your deposit?
Okay, define something bad. If we're talking about 20-plus murders, no. Trip canceled. There's no chance of going.
Fair enough. I
don't even care if I don't give me the credit if you don't give me a refund. We're going elsewhere. We're not going to, the murder camp. That's not happening. It's not happening. So anyway, that's my problem with all the sequels essentially that take place at Camp Crystal Lake, which most of them do. Not all of them, but most of them do, or thereabouts. In that
Are you
same
saying
area.
Jason Takes Manhattan isn't in Crystal Lake?
No, it's not in Crystal
Oh,
Lake.
I did not know that.
But that's definitely probably one of the worst ones. I don't know. Jason Takes Manhattan's an odd one for sure. Most of them go, like I said, after the fourth one, they go off the rails in a big way. But that's the thing, Sergio. So our first verses, I thought I was going to win this one, but I ultimately agree with you that this one isn't as bad as I initially thought. And it is probably the best Friday the 13th with Jason as the villain. Which is not saying anything, because the only one with him not is the first one. So
Right.
I have no argument there, I guess. If there was more than one with Jason's mom, maybe that would be scarier. I don't know. But, yeah. That's going to do it, unless you have anything else to add about
Nope.
the final chapter.
How about you, Rogue? Do you have anything to say?
I think you liked it. So that was a little movie night we had. We had a couple beers, pizza, watched the final chapter. We hope you enjoyed it. That's all we got, folks. If you haven't seen the final chapter in a while, watch it again. Me and Sergio think it's worth a rewatch for you, especially this time of year. Alrighty, that is a wrap on Two Drink Minimum episode 2. We hope you enjoyed it. Sergio and I certainly did, and as you can see, we thought all in all that the final chapter, which was not the final chapter when all was said and done, but it was rewatchable. And I got to give it to Sergio. He was right on that one. As far as the sequels are concerned, that's probably the best one. But hit us up anytime you want to. Let us know what you think. You can email any of us at our first name at kickerrock.com. So Bill, Sergio, Tony, JT, or Joe, or even info@kickerrock.com. Whatever you would like. Let us know a future podcast you'd want to hear. Let us know your thoughts and your feedback. We'd really appreciate it. Thanks again for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one. Cheers, everybody.